Hello, this is Chris Horton with Dr. Rankwell, and this is a presentation called What Google Wants to See. It's a presentation that I've done many times before, and I always get people that come to me and want to see this presentation over and over again. So I figured I'm going to go ahead and commit it to video so that you guys can watch it as often as you like. But what we're going to be discussing is some of the elements of your website that Google is looking at in order to determine where it is that you're going to rank on their search engine listings. And this is pretty much across the board with mostly all search engines. But because Google is obviously the most popular right now, we're going to go ahead and cover some of the things that Google is looking at. So the first thing we'll discuss is a laundry list of questions that Google has to go through while they're making a decision as to who's going to rank where. So what does Google look at? Who is this person that is searching? What have they searched for before? Where do they live? What exactly are they searching for? Does your website offer the best info possible for this query? Are people actively talking about your website on social networks? Are people linking to or buying your products or services? Where is your business located compared to the searcher? How current is the information on your website? Do you have any categories or pages dedicated to what it is that that person has searched for? Have other people come to your site for that same query and then turned around and left without clicking anything else? That's called a bounce rate. Does your site have a lot of spelling errors or coding issues? Do any popular or authority sites in your industry link to you? Does your site have legitimate information on this topic? Or is it just structured for SEO purposes to try and trick Google? It's all these questions and many, many more. Obviously, with their algorithm, they have well over 150 questions that go into play, and some that generate just more questions. So let's first look at the who as far as what Google is looking at. Because Google has to make multiple decisions when someone types in a search query. But first, it looks at the person searching. Where are they located at? This is obviously more going to be important for people who have businesses and services that are location based. So if you're in Atlanta or you're in San Jose, California, or you're in New York City, if you have a business, you need to make sure that you're listed appropriately, because what happens is that if that search that they're doing is relevant to location, it's important for Google to know where this person is located at so that they can make some assumptions as to what they're going to show them. What has the person searched for previously? If you're logged into Google, you may notice that sometimes the listings and the search engine listings will be different than when it is when you're logged out of Google, or you may not have noticed that. But Google looks to see what your previous search history was and may make an assumption that you're trying to locate a website that you were on before. So that's one of the things that it considers. What websites did they visit before? That kind of falls into the same guise as what did they search for previously. Again, if a person has been on a certain website and Google knows that, then obviously Google can make that assumption. What things have they purchased before? Obviously, that is a conversion. So when somebody purchases something, that's considered a conversion. That's ultimately what you want. You want to sell a person your service or product, and that's the ultimate goal line. What topics interest them? If there's a certain thing that the person searches for on a regular basis, Google knows all that information. It's much more than this, obviously, but it's all the data that Google has. And it's not intrusive, it's just data. You give Google all of this information when you log into your Google accounts, Gmail, Google+, and even YouTube. Any place that you log in is going to kind of keep records and cookies of the places that you visited and everything else. So, what can you change on your website to take advantage of this data that Google is looking at? Well, to start, you have no control over what the person looked at previously or their interest, but location is very important for your business. So, that being the case, Google wants to push for convenience first. So if the search pertains to a product or service that's normally provided locally, such as a plumber, a wedding planner, electrician, florist, etc., one of the first options on the search results after paid advertising will be the businesses that are close to that person that is searching. And that means getting listed with any directories for your state, county, or city that focus on your industry, as well as other important directories. So your first step is to get on Google Places. Head to google.com/places And here is an example of what some of the Google Places listings will look like in a search for wedding planners in San Francisco. So Google presented this info because the person added San Francisco to the search term. Now, if they don't, it pulls that data from the Google account and makes an assumption as to where they are. So this kind of really process, because if I simply say I want a Mexican restaurant, but I don't say Mexican restaurant in Atlanta, or I don't say Mexican restaurant in New York City, it's going to look to see where it is that I am actually located based on the data that I have in my Google account. And then it's going to still make these same types of things showing businesses that are in that area. So the second step is to do a Google search for your product or service category with the word directory or listing and location. Location is very important to Google in most cases, but more important is relevancy. So when I did this search here for California Wedding Planner Directory, it showed a list of sites that offered directories for wedding planners to get listed on. And there's like a whole bunch of them. You can see there's tons of them here. So whatever industry you're in, Google needs to see your site listed on those related directories. So general directories like Yahoo and places like that, they all serve businesses very, very well, but relevance is very, very paramount. So you need to find out some of the things that are relative to your industry, whatever those may be, and tag on the word directory or listing and the location of where you're at in order to pull up some of these places like this and be able to make sure that you actually get on them and get listed with them. A really easy tip is to sign up with Yext. You can visit drrankwell.com/offers, and there's a special link there where you can check to see where your business listings are on all these places and how it's showing. Maybe at one point in time you were on one address and then you moved and went to another address. There may still be some listings that are out there that have your old address on them, so you want to make sure that you have all that stuff all consistent, and it's very, very important. But you can submit your business to the tons of directories via Yext, and at least, again, make sure that all of your information is correct on them. And here is just a sampling of some of the places that Yext submits to. You simply just put your business information in once, including address, your hours of business, and you submit it out and blast it out, and then it literally sends it out to all these places. Some of them you've probably never heard of before, but it's okay because a lot of the major players actually do go to these sites and actually extract data from them. So Yext knows who those important players are. So what does that accomplish for your site? Well, first, when Google sees the location of the person that's searching, your business appears if you're in close proximity to them. It creates multiple links to your website on the relative websites that are out there. It causes Google to recrawl your website content because when Google sees your links set up on these other sites, then by the nature of what spiders and indexers do, they will actually go through the link and actually go out to your website and re-index your website. It also adds your business listing to many directories, and a lot of which are directly read by searchers. Like some of those websites you've probably never heard of, and people go directly to them. Directories get scraped by many other minor sites. So, just because you've never heard of a site, you'd be actually very surprised to find out that there are probably a dozen other websites that are going to that website and pulling all of that data. And that obviously creates even more links. So here's a tip. Create an email address on Gmail and use that for all of your signups to keep your real email box uncluttered from spam and newsletters. Now, next, we're going to move on to what Google wants to see as far as what is concerned. The goal of Google is to send the searcher to the very best site it can for whatever it is that they've typed in the search box. And there's a lot that Google has to know about the query. What exactly are they trying to find? Because a lot of times you can put in a search query, but it can mean multiple different things. Are there multiple right answers? Are they wanting to buy a product or service? Looking for more information just because they're curious, like when a famous actor died or something. Are other people also looking for this same query at the same time? Are there multiple places Google could send them? Should Google show local or international results? And of course, many other questions. So let's kind of go into this a little bit more. If a person searches for Prince, what do they want? The singer? What about him? Do they want his songs, tour dates, his bio, his discography, pictures, videos? Do they want the royalty? Who exactly? Prince George, Prince Henry, Prince Caspian, or is your daughter simply looking up the word that because she saw it on a Disney film? The tennis racket manufacturer? Do they want news about the company, latest models, pictures of tennis rackets? Which do you think would display on the list first? If you guess the singer, you are correct. But why? Well, the search term Prince is conclusive. It's his name. Google knows the searcher probably would have added more data if they meant something else. If they wanted it to be the tennis racket manufacturer, they probably would have done a model name after it or put the word tennis racket after it. But because they just put the word Prince, most likely it's the singer. But if it's not specific, Google decides which answer is most likely by A, search activity. Is there an increase in searches for one of them? Social activity. Is there a lot of talk about one of them on social sites like Facebook and Twitter or video sites like YouTube? Media. Are any of them in current news events? Bounce rates. When someone has searched using that broad search term before, what websites did Google display? And when the searcher clicked on one of those selections, did they stay on that website or did they come back to the search results and choose something else? And if they did, that's called a bounce rate. And Google takes all those things into note. So if a searcher is using broad terms, that can be really, really tough. But what about questions? For instance, what is that movie with Patrick Swayze where he's a dancer? Obviously, the answer is Dirty Dancing. What is that daytime talk show with 4 women and Whoopi Goldberg? Well, obviously, the answer is The View. Google did an update called Hummingbird, and that associates a lot of relative words with other terms and phrases, just like the red words are associated with the answers above. Dirty Dancing equals a movie, dancer, Patrick Swayze. The View equals daytime talk show, Whoopi Goldberg, 4 women. That is referred to as latent semantics indexing. Okay? So, want to get geeky for a second? We'll do that. Latent semantic indexing is an indexing and retrieval method that uses a mathematical technique called singular value decomposition, SVD, to identify patterns in the relationships between the terms and concepts contained in an unstructured collection of text. I couldn't even read that cleanly myself. So the super easy way to understand it is, if I say dungarees, trousers, jeans, and slacks, I'm talking about pants. If I say loafers, high heels, sandals, and flip-flops, I'm, of course, talking about shoes. Google treats words that are semantically relevant the exact same way during searches in order to better understand what the person is searching for by cross-referencing those relative words. A lot of times, you might not know the exact name of a movie or exact name of a talk show or whatever, so you give it the pieces and the elements that it needs in order to find it, and it finds it. And you may have noticed that Google has gotten a lot better at that every single time that you go and do a search. And that being the case, what you're witnessing is what's called latent semantic indexing. Look at all of that data, including social activity, what people clicked on before, and much more to create a list from the millions of sites it has on file, including yours, by determining things like the keyword at domain level. For instance, if somebody did a search for Atlanta wedding, Google has to make a little bit of an assumption that they may have meant atlantawedding.com, because a lot of times people will go and they'll try to search for a website. Like I know a lot of older generations will go in and they'll put the name of the website in the Google search box. And so Google has to make a little bit of a guess that may have been what they intended. And so a lot of exact match domain names actually get a really good benefit from that if they can get a really good keyword term as a domain. I wouldn't suggest building your business around that, but it is a strategy that is very, very highly used, and it does work in a lot of cases if you can get people to click through that website and stay on it. Do any pages have titles that have those keywords in it? We'll kind of talk a little bit about page titles in a minute. Are people actively talking about or linking to your site? Like, for instance, the social media and stuff. So, I mean, on Facebook and Twitter. Do any industry specific authoritative sites link to your sites? Like, if you're in the wedding industry, do the major websites like The Knot and One Wed and all those places, they actually link to you? Are you buying links, or are you involved in bad SEO tactics? Are you going to Fiverr.com and trying to buy a bunch of links? That's bad. Google will see all that stuff, and I'm telling you, you're going to get caught. Are you verified in Google Places or any of the industry directories? We've already talked about that before. Do you have a high bounce rate for that keyword or phrase? Like, when somebody has searched for that phrase before, did they click through to your website and then turn around and just leave? Do you use semantically related keywords normally found on sites with this content? For example, if you're in the wedding industry, are you using words like bride, groom, bridesmaid, etc. in your content, titles, photos, and descriptions? That type of stuff looks natural to Google, so you really have to make sure that you're doing it. Don't say the same keyword over and over again. It's known as keyword stuffing, and it can get you in a lot of trouble. And of course, there's 100 plus other things that you have to pay attention to, or that Google has to pay attention to, but that you need to do. So, oh my God, what does this have to do with my website, and how do I apply that lactose symbolic imprint thing? All right. First of all, it's called latent semantic indexing, and here's how you can take advantage of it. Okay. Don't use the same keyword, phrase, or term repeatedly throughout your website. If you're a wedding planner in New York City, do not say New York City wedding planner. New York City wedding planner, NYC wedding planner at NYC, wedding planner in New York City. Don't do that. That's called keyword stuffing, and it doesn't look natural and doesn't feel natural, and Google will penalize you for it. Look at semantically related keywords and use them a lot. Use those relative terms throughout your blog posts, your bios, your About Us pages, etc. Google notices all those things. Get on those relative directories also, not just wedding planning directories, but other things like bridal fashion directories as well. Yes, it's not the same, but it is relative and it is powerful. So here's a major tip. Apply that strategy to your title tags, your descriptions, your blog post titles, your tags that you use. If you use WordPress, there's a little section over there on the right that says tags. That's all things you need to pay attention to, and all things you need to get your keywords listed on. Your page addresses, for instance, if your website happens to be atlantawedding.com, atlantawedding.com slash 21-best-flowers-decorations.html or whatever. Make sure that the web page address is actually relevant and actually contains keywords. Really good tip. Another major tip. Don't forget to label your photos before you upload them to your website. Not just the file names. For instance, when they come out of your camera, most likely they're named something like DSC0019.jpg. Change that to whiteweddinggown.jpg. But also pay attention to your alt tags as well. I will talk a little bit about alt tags later on in another video, but for now, just know that it's something you should pay attention to. Use OnlyWire to get Google to reindex new content. Now, see, this is one of my favorite tools. It's called OnlyWire. Anytime that you create a new page, add a new product, send out a press release, put up a new blog post, you need to use OnlyWire. Just log in and enter the website address to the new content, and OnlyWire will send it out for you to all these places. They have a bunch of places other than this, but Blogster, LiveJournal, Facebook, WordPress, Typepad, Tag, Dig, Delicious, Reddit. They're all there. And again, once you can go to drrankwell.com/offers for a link to OnlyWire, and it will actually have a link. Any kind of special deal that we can get for you, this is a great, great service. But one of the benefits is that it really helps Google see that you've added new content to your website in a very, very quick and efficient manner. I highly suggest using OnlyWire. Great site. So, taking Google out of the equation for a moment, let's look to see how you're presenting your information to the searcher. Ask yourself these questions. Are my title tags clear so that the person knows what's on my site? So for instance, when your little listing shows up on Google, how does it look? Does it convey what you want it to convey? It's pretty important to know. Is the description for the page short and concise and descriptive? Would a person know what they're going to see on that page before they get there? Because ultimately you want a buyer to come to your site. It's not important for Google to come to your site as much as it is for the buyer to come to the site and buy your product or service. This is a company that is out of Miami. I assume they're out of Miami. But it's called Jennifer J. Events. And because of the fact that she was more concerned about getting the locations that she represents into her title tags and her description, the listing on Google doesn't really convey that much. So when we did a search for Fort Lauderdale wedding planner, this popped up and it showed Miami, Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Vero Beach, Orlando, dot, dot, dot. So only the locations are in the titles and descriptions. It doesn't really discuss what it is that she does. Both the title and the description get cut off with ellipses. But see, the problem here is that if I'm a searcher, I'm probably not going to click on this because I'm not really clear as to what she does. There's a little bit at the end of the sentence that in the description that says high-end wedding and event planning in South Florida and dot, dot, dot. But it really doesn't convey much more what else she does. What I'm trying to do is I want to convince the searcher to click, not Google. This makes no sense to me. So here is a website that is actually located in Atlanta, and we did a search for Atlanta wedding planner. And besides the word Peachtree being misspelled in the description, it conveys exactly what it needs to convey. It's going to get that person to click through. It's clear, it's concise, it explains what they do and where they are, and realistically, they have enough space, so add a phone number. Because a lot of times, if people looking things up on their mobile phone, you're giving them the ability to be able to click that phone link, and their phone will go ahead and dial that number without them having to visit the website. That's so much easier. So fix this, and you can almost guarantee that your site gets clicked on more, and Google will notice that and increase and reward it accordingly. But when they go to your site, do they then turn around and leave without clicking anything else? That's called a bounce rate. You need to try to figure out ways to make sure that whatever you're communicating on your listing is exactly what they're going to see, and also help to entice them to click through to more things. The better question is, would you even know if they're leaving your website? You need to be using Google Analytics, which you can get at google.com/analytics. What that will help you do is that will help you to be able to see exactly what keywords are coming to your website for. It will help you to see what pages on your website have the highest bounce rate, so you can kind of see what's going on and what's going wrong and be able to fix those things. Because if you're not tracking conversions to see what works, you don't even know why people are leaving your website. You don't even know why it is that you're not getting any sales. You have to track all those things. You can also use Google Webmaster Tools to ensure that nothing is technically wrong with your website. Just go to google.com/webmaster and you can actually get all that data right there. And Google actually gives you these tools for free to show you if there's anything wrong. So you need to be using this. If you're not, you're only shooting yourself in the foot. But here's a bonus bounce rate trick for you. Create a call to action on the main landing pages to entice people to click through to a second page, such as download our free wedding checklist or view this special offer only available in November, whatever the case may be. Just get them to click through and click onto another website page. And once you do that, you have dramatically reduced your bounce rate. And when you reduce your bounce rate, that shows Google that your site is relevant for that search term, and it can help to increase your rankings. High bounce rates can cause your rankings to drop. That's all we're going to really cover for today, but here's a quick recap. Here are the important bullets you need to walk away with, and a couple we didn't even discuss. First, use title tags and description fields wisely. We kind of discussed a little bit about that. You can go into the back end of your website creator, whatever that may be, WordPress or whatever, and you have the ability to be able to alter your title tags and description fields wisely. Do that. Make sure that you're conveying what you want to convey to the person when they come to your website. Use a lot of relevant terms throughout the content and don't just stuff keywords. Don't say the same thing repeatedly. Just stop doing that. Use OnlyWire to push out new content. That's going to be very, very helpful to you. That's going to help to get new content out into the Google's index quickly and efficiently. Use call to actions to get people clicking and reduce your bounce rate. Use Yext and Google Places to get your business listed quickly. Use the tools that Google gives you, for instance, Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools. Create content for the reader, not Google. That's more important than anything else. And don't get discouraged. by the Google delay. The Google delay is you can make all the modifications that you want to with your website. You can make all the correct adjustments to your title tags. You can make all the correct adjustments to your descriptions. You can make all those correct assumptions. But then Google's not going to reward you like the next day or even next week. It could be a month down the road. It could be 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year down the road. Google is not going to let you know that you've done the correct thing, because if they do, then what happens is that you can then turn around and reverse engineer the Google algorithm, or at least get a better insight as to what it is that they're doing, and be able to apply that to any other sites that you have your hand in order to try to dominate these search engines. And Google is not going to give you the secret sauce and show you what it is that they're changing or what it is that they're using to make their decisions. So don't get discouraged by it. Just know that these are the things that Google is looking at. Make those adjustments and sit tight, because I'm telling you, good stuff will come, and that's essentially what you need. So, again, you can go to drrankwell.com/offers, and you can see all the links and deals on the sites that I've mentioned. Download this presentation, as well as other SEO consultation offers. If you feel like you just simply just can't do this yourself, you really need a walkthrough of what is wrong so you know exactly what you need to fix that's specific to your website, we can help you out at drrankwell.com. You can simply go there and we will actually give you a very, very detailed report of exactly what's going on with your website, what your competitors are doing, and everything else, and really give you a roadmap to success. So for now, that is the presentation for what Google wants to see. Again, my name is Chris Horton. You can reach me at rx@drrankwell.com. And again, don't forget to go to drrankwell.com/offers and see all the things that we have to provide for you. Thanks again.